Am I looking a little wonky? Okay. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I am here. I'm just gathering what we need. Forgot to say bring scissors. Go get some scissors, please. I'll put it on a post-it note. There you go. Get some scissors, please. Oh, I was on mute. Oh, I'll never learn, will I? I'll never learn. What's wrong with me? Yeah, I forgot to say on the thing, you need scissors. Can you get some scissors, please? Please, get scissors. That's not for this lesson. Right, put that there, Ruth. Concentrate. How are we doing? Are we nearly ready? Okay, good afternoon, Matmov. How are we doing today? How are you doing? How are you doing? I did something unusual for me this week. I went out. I went out in the evening. Actual out in the evening. And I'm buzzing from it. I feel like a youthful teenager again. I'm not going to do it too frequently because I know I won't recover like a youthful teenager, but it was wild and fun for me. How has your week been? I did I see a really sad post when I was just very quickly doing something that somebody lost their frogs. I think there was something super sad where somebody's having a rubbish week. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Yeah, Ellie, your frogs have gone from the pond. I wonder if they'll come back to have babies. Or maybe they've laid their eggs and then they've scooted off and you're going to have loads of tadpoles. Do you think maybe that'll happen? Is it the right time of year for that? I feel like it should be. Things are starting to warm up, aren't they? That's why they all come up from the bottom of the pond, don't they? I think, is that right? I don't know. I'm no expert on frogs, but I do like them. Anyway, what are we doing today? So we've been doing multiplying large numbers. First thing I'm going to say is actually next week I'm having a week I'm not off. I work, but I'm not doing lives. It's half term up in Cumbria. I know because I do other work that revolves around school people. So so I have that week doing live stuff, and then after that I'm going to come back and we're going to do some division stuff. I'm going to look at division. Makes sense. We've done multiplication, we'll go on to division, and then we'll play it by ear from there. But today we've been doing multiplication. Let's finish off this multiplication with what if we don't actually have numbers to multiply by. what happens? Well, actually, you know, it doesn't actually change a wild amount. But I want to introduce you that today in various different ways. Okay. I totally forgot to tell you to get scissors. And then I've said to get scissors. I've forgotten to get scissors myself. I've got some more there, though, so I'll grab some in a second. We'll use those. But for now, I need to show you a few pictures. Okay. So let me actually sort that out. Why is that not moving? Okay. I know. No, before I start showing you things, I realized I want to make something with you. I need the scissors. I want to make something with you. So I'm going to start you off making it so you can be making it whilst I'm rapping away at you. Okay. So you need your piece of paper. Have you all got a piece of paper? Hopefully it's roughly A4. If it's not A4, it doesn't matter. But rectangular or square would be super helpful. Okay. We're going to make something similar to Cuisinart to use in some of our problems today, because I didn't want to assume people have got those. They're a resource that I will show you actually. I love. If I was ever, I very rarely recommend maths resources actually. I think you can do most things just with like everyday things, including a calculator, but I do love Cuisinart. They're really, really flexible. We're going to make something similar as paper. We're going to do that. Get your piece of paper. The first thing you need to do is just fold it in half. That's all I want you to do, is fold your piece of paper in half like that, and cut it in half. This is where I need to get the scissors. This is where I have to be honest about being disorganized, but I'm not in my pajamas today, so at least I don't have to confess about that. I've left the house, so I had to get dressed, but I didn't have to. I chose to go to the post office and the library in clothes that were not my pajamas. That was my choice. Is it because I feel judged if I go out in them? I don't know. Maybe. I'll think about that. Right, so cut your piece of paper in half. We're going to turn these into some little Cuisinart rods. And whilst you're cutting that in half, I'm going to start talking to you a bit about some multiplying if we don't have any numbers. Okay, so be cutting that in half, and then have a little look at this picture and have a little think about this. So this is a football pitch. It is. I've Googled it. Don't watch much football, but I've Googled it. This is definitely a football pitch. I want to know what the area of that football pitch is. How would you tell me what the area of that football pitch is? So this is where I wish I did the Facebook one first, so that I could get some answers off people, and then I could just tell you. So I'm just going to have to maybe imagine your answers. You can talk to each other though. You can actually talk to whoever's with you. You can have a little think about it. You can shout it out. You can write it down, whatever suits you. What I want to know is how you would express the area of this football pitch. So we've been looking at some areas, haven't we? When we've been doing all the multiplication, we've determined one of the lengths we've said is like, we've allocated a number to the length and a number to the width. And then to find the area, we've done length times width. So if you've got a rectangular shape, we do the length times the width to find the area. So you can either write that as length multiplied by width, or algebraically, you can actually just write LW. You can drop the multiply sign. Don't worry too much about that. It's just something I wanted to bring up just to be aware of. Okay, so area of a rectangle in particular, which works for a square as well, because squares are like a special type of rectangle. They're a regular rectangle. You're always doing the length times the width. Right, hopefully you've split it into. You put one of them to one side for now. We don't need that for now. This one here, we're going to fold in half. So we've got two rectangles. We're going to fold it in half. We're going to fold it in half one more time. Same direction. So I've taken the longest bit, folded that in half, and then the same edge, fold it in half again. Okay, same edge, fold in half one more time. And when you unfold that, you should have 8 sections to it. So 8 long rectangles like that. Okay, so I'll show you that one more time. Fold it in half, fold it in half again, fold it in half one more time. Okay, and whilst I'm talking, can you cut out all of those 8 little rectangles, please? Yeah, is that okay? I think you can do that. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long. Just cutting straight along. Yeah. So back to our area of a rectangle. Area of a rectangle. I've got to cut mine out now. I actually practiced this. I wish I could get the practice versions I'm annoyed with myself for chucking them away. And then my husband's been all efficient and emptied all the bins. So I couldn't even, I should probably not have admitted that I would have done that, but I would have gone through the bin for those. Okay, so we've got the area of a rectangle, and this football pitch would be the length multiplied by the width. So then if I look at this football pitch, and I don't know what the length of it is. I don't know, but I know the width is 68. What's the area of that football pitch? How could I write that down? Is there a way I could write that down, or I could say out loud to someone, well, if I was working out the area of this football pitch, this is what I would do. What would you do? I'm going to give you a little bit of thinking time for that. I'm aware you're also cutting at the same time as thinking. Have a look at the picture. Do have a look at the picture. Take a little break. Don't cut and look at the picture, because I don't want to be told off for cut off fingers. What would you do to find, or what would you say to someone about finding the area of this football pitch? The length, we don't know the length, but we do know the width is 68. So I'll say it could be 68 meters, for example. I've not put any units on that. What would you say? I'm going to give you maybe about 5 more seconds thinking time, whilst I just keep cutting. Would you maybe say to someone that you would do the same as before, length times width? And since we know the width, we would do whatever the length is times by 68. Is that what we would do? That's what I would do. I'd do length times width. So it's the length times by 68. Algebraically, you tend to put a number first. It's called a coefficient. Don't worry about the mathematical language. Don't worry if you don't put it this way around, because it means the same thing. But we tend to put the number in front. So I could drop the times sign and write it as 68L. But this is perfectly fine too. L times 68. So that's another way of doing that. Okay. What about this one then? What about this one? So you keep cutting if you've not cut out your 8 strips yet, keep doing that. Have a little pause. Have a look at the picture. So this time I know that the width is 68. The length I know is 100 meters plus something extra. I don't know what the extra is. It's 100 meters plus a bit extra. How could I find the area, or what would I do or tell someone about the area of that football pitch? Any ideas? Is anyone being wild here and trying that thing you sometimes do with wrapping paper, where you do a little cut and then you just sort of like drag the scissors along? And sometimes it works amazingly well, and sometimes you just go off to one side and make a massive hash of it. I'm being a bit wild and doing that at the moment. It's making my day, actually. I quite like it. Only because it's working. I'd be really cross if it wasn't. What about this one then? So we know the width is 68. We know some of the length. We know some of it is 100. But there's more to it. There's an extra bit. There's this extra bit that we don't know that I've just called L. Anyone thought about it a bit like when we had numbers? So when we had something like 6 times 52, for example, we might do 6 times 50 and 6 times 2. Do you remember we split it up? We did like an area model, and we split it into the 10s and the 1s. So we can do that here too. We can apply exactly the same idea to this, which is actually algebra. Okay, we don't need to worry about it being algebra, but it is. So what I've done here is I've split that length up into 100. So we've got the 100 here, which is the pink rectangle, plus the extra bit, which we don't know. Now I can find the area of the pink rectangle, and I can find the area of the extra bit. Hopefully for the pink rectangle, you've spotted we could do 68 times 100. So we do 68 times 100. Where's my post-it notes? I've lost them again. I only used them a second ago. What have I done with them? I have to resort to, oh, here we go. I've got pink ones. That could be helpful. Pink ones. So if we do 68 times 100, we're going to get 6,800 for the area of our pink section. And then the extra bit here, we're still going to have to do length times width. We'll have to do 68 times that L, or L times 68. It doesn't matter. That's interesting actually in itself. You might have done 68 times L, or you might have done L times 68. Because multiplication is something called commutative, you can write it either way. and it means exactly the same thing. So we've got two areas. We've got the area of the pink bit, which was 68 times 100. And we've got the area of the leftover bit, which was 68 times L, or L times 68. So the total area, we're going to have to add those together. Going to have to add those two things together. I've simplified this bit. I've written it as 68L. I've dropped the multiply sign. If you've not done that, don't panic. That's absolutely fine. So we can add them together and we end up with 6,800 plus the 68L. Otherwise, you might have written that as 6,800 plus 68 multiplied by L. As I said before, you might have written that multiply the other way around, and that's absolutely fine too. So this would be your other way of writing it. If you're not comfortable with dropping that times sign, don't drop it. Leave it in. Still algebra. Works perfectly fine. Okay, so we'll do a little bit more with that. We'll have a look at that. But I want to go back to these. So hopefully you should have 8 strips, which are 8 rectangles. Now what we're going to do sort of the same again. So we're going to fold this. You had 2 bigger rectangles. We folded a big A4 sheet in half. I told you to put one to one side. Hopefully you've still got that. So you're going to take that and we're going to do exactly the same as we did with the other half. We're going to fold it in half, fold it in half again, and then fold it in half the third time. Okay, so we're doing exactly the same as before. You open that out and you're going to have 8 strips. But this time, I want you to fold it in half the other way as well. So we're going to make some smaller parts. So you're going to fold it in half the other way direction and then fold it down another time. And you're going to end up with 32 little tiny rectangles. They're almost squares, but not quite. So I'll show you that one more time. You had your big like half of piece of paper. We folded it in half along the long edge, folded it in half again, folded it in half a third time. Then we unfold all of that. And then we're going to fold in half down the short edge, fold in half once, fold in half again. So you just fold in half twice down the short edge. And then you've got the job, I'm afraid, of cutting out all of those little rectangles. So 32 of them. Okay, you can do your wild scissor along the long bits and then you just have to snip them up. Okay, whilst I'm talking a bit more about the area of a rectangle. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you that using actual Cuisenaire rods, but I've just realised I'll have to cut that up later. You can watch whilst I'm doing this and cut at the same time. Okay, so Cuisenaire rods. I'm not saying you have to get these at all. I love them, but I obviously do maths a lot. You can get plastic ones so you can stamp with them. You can get electronic ones totally free online. Okay. What I want to show is how we would do, like how we could model a similar sort of thing using Cuisenaire rods. Okay, so I'm not going to use 68 times 100 because I'd need 6,800 little pieces. That would be huge. That would take me a really, really long time. So I'm going to do another one instead. So if I wanted to change this down so you can look. So if I wanted to find the area of this rectangle here, and this side length here was 5, and this side length up here was maybe 3 plus an unknown amount, which I'm going to call x this time. So it's 5, and then I've got 3 plus an unknown amount. So what I can do is, first of all, build this length, this 3 plus this unknown amount. So I can say, right, okay, let's take these little blocks. Can we see those okay next to the desk? Hopefully you can. Maybe I could put a coloured piece of paper underneath to help. I'll do a blue piece of paper underneath to help so they stand out. There we go. So I'm going to build this length here. That's my 3. And then I need an unknown amount. So I'm just going to pick another colour that's going to stand out on that piece of paper. My unknown amount is going to be represented by a yellow block. A yellow block. So that's 3 plus x. That's that length along here. But I want that 5 times because it's going, the width here is 5. So I now have to find that, and I'm now regretting not doing this before we started. I need to build it 5 times, essentially. So I'll build it. We've got 1. That's the second. That's the third. Oh gosh, nearly dropped the whole box on the floor. That would have been brilliant, wouldn't it? Definitely not worth doing live. Put it on my knee. Not as bad as when I sat on the box of X-Men. That was horrendous. And that's the 4th row. And here we go. Here's the 5th. Here's the 5th. So because I don't know that this length here, I could have represented it with like a really long one. I could have represented it with something much shorter. I just don't know that length. So I just have to sort of guess a little bit. And then we can actually see where this area comes from. Because when we split this up, if I show you on here, if I split it up, say that this length here is the 3, and this length here is the x, well, I can visually see that on my Cuisenaire. I can split it. I can say, well, I know what this area is because it's 3 times 5. That section there is definitely 15. Look at that, writing upside down skills. And then this one, each of these was worth x. I decided that. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So I can write that as either 5x, which is the most sort of mathematical way to write it. But some people don't feel comfortable doing that straight away. That's absolutely fine. You just write 5 times x, which means 5 lots of something that's worth x, something we don't know, so we've just called x. So if I put it all together, because I'm adding those 2 bits together, I would just say that that area is worth 15 plus either 5x or 5 times x. And what I've done there to work that out was I actually did 5 multiplied by, and then I have to put this bit in brackets to show it's everything, 3 plus x. So if you've been able to do that, you've actually expanded some algebraic brackets. So that's what we were doing with that one. Okay, so hopefully you've been cutting up, hopefully during that, you've been cutting up your own version of Cuisenaire rods. So we've got some long strips here, and then you've cut up your little sections. So I've not managed to do that yet, so I'm going to start doing that now for myself. Okay, the idea being that these little ones can represent ones, and these bars can represent anything you don't know, any letters you don't, or lengths that you don't know. And I'm going to give you some areas to have a little look at now to see if you can work out what the area of any of these rectangles would be. Okay, so I've got 3 of them to show you initially, and then I'm going to try and represent them as well. So I've got 3 of these initially here to have a little look at. Can you see those okay? So we've got a sort of bluey turquoise one, a red one, and a yellow one. I'm going to move these out of the way so I can angle that a little bit better. Can you see those okay? Can we see these? Have a look at those. Okay, so we've got those. You can use your homemade paper Cuisenaire rods to represent them. You can write it down. You could do both. Sometimes doing it in multiple ways is really helpful. You might find it helpful also. I'm a very visual person. Rather than building things, I actually prefer to draw them. So you might be a person that really likes drawing them. I'd recommend trying all 3 because the more options, the more connections your brain will make during this time. Okay, so I am actually going to be quiet for a little bit. I'm going to cut up my own little rectangles. The order I'm going to go through these in, I'm going to go turquoisey blue one, then the red one, then the yellow one. You do whatever, but just know that that's the order I'm going to talk through them in. Okay, so I'm going to talk, if you want to do them in the same order as me, that's the order I'm going to go through them in. Okay, so yeah, I'm actually going to be quiet for a second so you can think. I know it's not the best telly, but it's probably the best way to learn. What do we think? How are you doing with this? If you've managed to do it one way, I fully advocate trying another way. So if you've managed to do it like by drawing it out, like I said, try building it and try writing it down as well. Try all three if you can. You might feel like that's not for you today. That's absolutely fine. That's okay. If it's not for you today, don't do it. But just bear in mind that in the future, it could be helpful to you. Gosh, it takes longer than I thought to cut these out. I think before I just cut some of them out just to test it would work. That sounds like me. I'm definitely a learn on the job sort of person, I've decided. If you've not tried it live, you don't know if it's really going to work, do you? I should have said also, if you've brought Lego with you, I said to bring Lego or loose pieces. I should have been more specific about Lego, actually. You can actually build it with that as well. That's a really good resource for like using instead of Cuisinart rods. I sometimes struggle with what to use for one. Maybe just some of the little blocks. Maybe some of the little ones. Okay, so I am going to go through this one here. This one that says 3 plus t multiplied by 2. I'm going to write a little... I'm going to find a post-it note I can write that on. Ah, here, my green ones. That's what I wanted. If you hear any barking in the background, it is my parents' dog. We've had her for nearly a month now, maybe over a month actually. She's always a bit barky. In the last week, she has gone exceptional bark mode. Particularly last night, we were watching Gladiator. Her name's Bracken, and we renamed her the Brackenator because she thought she was a gladiator. Anyway, so yeah, I just told my son telling her off. Right, this first one then, I said I would look at this one first. So this is the turquoise one you were looking at. It had a width of 2, a length of 3 plus t. So I'd have built that 3 plus t up using my paper Cuisinart rods. I'd have said, right, this is worth t. I might have even labelled it to remind myself that that's worth t. And then I need 3 extra, so 3 ones. So again, I might label these or I might not. So that would be, you can't see that. Hopefully you can see that there a little bit better. Let me move you back a bit. There, you can definitely see that now. Fab. So I've built that length down there. And now I need to do it twice because the width across is 2. So that's saying I need 2 of these. So I need another T there. So that's another one. And I can actually label it T. This is quite nice having the paper because we can actually write on it. Not so reusable though. Maybe we can just cross it out. And then I need another lot of the 3. And then I can see that the area of this is actually going to be, well, I've got 3 times by 2 here, which is 6, and 2 lots of t here. So I can write that. The area of that is 6 plus 2 lots of t. Or you might have written, oh, I've failed at writing upside down there, haven't I? 6 plus 2 lots of t. That's a bit better. 6 plus, oh, you might have written 6 plus 2 times t. Or you might have written 2t plus 6. Adding is also commutative. It's not commutative with multiplying, but you could swap those around. You could write 2t plus 6. That's also fine. 2 times t plus 6. Any of those would have been absolutely spot on with that one. Okay. You could have done it also visually by splitting it up along here and said, right, that bit is worth 3. Is that a 3 upside down? No, it's not, is it? I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to draw a new one. Could have done it visually. Might have preferred that. Where we've got 2, and then we've got split the 3 plus t up into 3 plus t. Split that up, done 2 times 3 to get 6. 2 lots of t is 2t or 2 times t. So the total area will be 6 plus 2 lots of t, like that. Okay. I'll show you the other two. I'll show you the other two now. Okay. You see those? So we've got the red one and the yellow one. Have a go at those ones. Have a go. Again, you could do it visually. You could do it through drawing. You can build them. I'm going to do some with Cuisinart rods here. How are we doing with those ones? It's also difficult when you're doing it on YouTube to know how long to leave people doing them. There's no need to do maths quickly. Absolutely never a need to do it quickly. Also, I'm an impatient person, so I do get, if you're waiting around, it can be frustrating too. That's okay. Yeah, I've maybe moved that a bit. There we go. That can also be frustrating, can't it? If you are waiting, just say hi on Facebook, maybe. Okay, so let's have a look at these ones. I'm going to show you with the Cuisinart rods, the red one, h plus 6 times by 3, and then see what you think of the yellow one, where we had to take away some. Okay, so if we look down here, I had to build the length h plus 6. So I've represented it with a pink little bar here. That's h, and then I added on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the width was 3, so I needed to do that 3 times. So I've done that 3 times, put them all together. And we can see we end up with 3 lots of 6 here. So that's 18. And this bit here is 3h, or 3 times h. So that one would have been 18 plus 3 times h, or 3h plus 18, or 3 times h plus 18. You could do any of those. Now, interestingly, the second one, I've done a subtract one. We started with p, but we've got to take off 2. So we've actually got to make this shorter by 2. So I'm going to have to put 2 blocks on right on top of p, making it shorter. So I'm going to like scribble them out to show we're sort of taking that off. So I'm taking off 2. So that was p. That whole length of that was p. I'm going to reduce the length by 2. But I've actually got to do that 4 times because the width was 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've got to reduce that length of all of them. So I've got to do that for every single one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, there's 8 altogether, isn't there? Because I already did 2 of them. So I'll show you that again. I'm like taking those off here, like that. Taking those off. Oh, not very neatly. Let me put it all back together. So each of those bars is a length of p, and I'm taking off a length of 2 off of each of them. So I'm taking it off, so I'm reducing that length. So altogether, I've reduced it by 2 lots of 4. So I've had to reduce it by 8. 2 times 4 is 8, or you could count those up. And there was 4 of these bars worth p. So that, if I was doing 4 times by p take away 2, which is what we're doing here, then I'm going to end up with 4 lots of p, which was my 4 long bars. You could write that as 4 times p or 4p. And then I've got to take away this 8. So I had to reduce it by 8 that time. So it ended up being a takeaway instead of an add. So this time we actually can't turn it around. We can't change the order of that because takeaway is not commutative. So you can't change the order. So I have got 3 more to have a go at. One of them is a little bit more challenging. I showed, I've got the diagrams on there. I forgot I did that. Gosh, I've worked so hard on this. I worked so hard on this PowerPoint. I'm just going to have to show you the pictures because I totally forgot I'd done that. Look at those. Look. You've no idea how long it takes me to do things like that. I am not tech savvy at all. Okay, so they were the sort of 3 solutions. But as I said, you can write them in different ways. It's not deathly strict. It's the most efficient way is to drop that multiply sign. This one, you could write the 18 plus 3h first. This one, you could write 2t plus 6 the other way around. This one, we can't switch them because it's a subtract. So you can't switch those around in the same way. Okay, these are the other 3. If you wanted to have another go, so they're the same colours, but it's different questions here. So I've got I'm going to do it in this order. I'm going to go turquoise, red, yellow. Do them in any order you want. If you want in more of a challenge, the yellow one is the one that's more challenging here. So it's slightly different. I've done it slightly differently. I'm not going to give you that long because it just feels a bit radio silence, a bit awkward to me. I'm just going to open a window because it's got ever so smoky in here because I've got an incense stick on, but it's gone really, really smoky for some reason. Super smoky. And I don't know if it's affecting whether you can see the screen properly or not. I didn't need my whiteboard today. I set my whiteboard up. I forgot I didn't need it. Maybe it's because I usually have an incense stick there. We always have an incense stick burning in these sessions. It gives me because I work from home, because I'm always at home and with my children. It gives me that sort of feeling of this is work, this is separate to not work. It just gives me a little bit of a different feel to my day, I guess. So I'm just going to give you maybe 1 more minute to have a go at those. And if in that time you've just done 1, that's amazing. Do 1, concentrate on doing it really, really well and in your own time over trying to rush all of them. Absolutely always advocate for that. Okay, let's have a look then. So I think that's been a minute. I wasn't counting, but let's have a look. Okay, so the first one, I split this length into 4 and m. So I'm doing 4 multiplied by 20 for the first area to get 80. And I'm doing m times 20 for the second area to get 20m, or 20 times m, or m times 20. That gives you, then you would add those together. So you could either write that as 80 plus 20m, 20m plus 80, 20 times m plus 80, or 80 plus 20 times m. Any of those would be great. The second one, so I'll take you back a bit. This second one here, I'm going to split this length into h and 7. So we've got h here and 7 here. I should have put that above here. I'm going to do h multiplied by 5 for the first section, which gives me 5h, or 5 times h. And I'm going to do 7, which should have been above here, times 5 for the second section, which gives me 35. So the area would be 5h plus 35, or 5 times h plus 35, or you could have written the 35 first. That would be fine too. The last one I'm going to do on a post-it note. I'm going to show you that one because it's ever so slightly different. Some of you might have noticed we didn't know the length or the width in this one, so slightly different. So here we didn't know the width, it's t, and the length we knew is t plus 6, so it's a bit longer. So I split the length up into 6 and t. If we want to find this first area here, we're going to do t times 6. So you can write that as t times 6, 6 times t, or as I'm going to, 6t. The second area, we're going to do t times t. T times t, because the two sides are the same length as each other, we know that's a square. So you actually write that as t squared. Square numbers are like when you do like 1 times 1 gives you 1, 2 times 2 gives you 4, 3 times 3 gives you 9, and so on like that. You can square any number though, so it doesn't matter what number it is. We know this means we're multiplying it by itself. So the area is 6t plus t squared, or t squared plus 6t. Either way round would have been absolutely fab for that. Okay, so that's all I'm going to go through today. I did have a little question. To think about. I'm not going to go through it right now, but it's just something for you to think about at home maybe. We went through some different multiplication methods. If you've done all of these lessons. There was the area model, long multiplication, the lattice method. I think a nice thing to explore at home is, would all of those models work? Is any of them more efficient than the other or more helpful than the others? I think that would be a really, really nice thing to explore. If you are a square, I think I also put in the workbook like some suggestions of problems on a really amazing website called Transom. That website's totally free, so anyone can look it up, transom.org. So just a link to some problems to do with area and algebra on there as well, that you might really enjoy playing with. Thank you so much for joining me live today. I am going to do the highs in a second. If you are not supporting me and you are enjoying these and you can afford to do so, I'm currently working on, if you like nature in particular, you'll really like it. It's like a bit like a magazine. It's going to be full of maths, puzzles, activities, art things that you can do at home, and like a thing where you can a guide to make one of these fractal cards, which is really cool. And if you become a square or a triangle, you'll get that through when it's done. You'll get the current Maths Mob memo, which hilariously I called the Maths Mob Momo. I'm leaving it like that because I think it's funny. You get some math stickers, which I need to print more. I've nearly run out of these. I actually need to get more printed. You get some origami paper, and if you become a square, you also get like workbooks that I make for each of the lessons, and you get those for these. I'm the Maths in Motion ones. We're currently doing Maths in Minecraft. We're going to go on to Maths in Space next term. So Maths in Space and division problems is what we're looking at next half term. So after I'm having a week off, and then it'll be like not the week, the week after that. I can't remember the date. Sorry, I'm going to say 20-something of February. 20-something of February, definitely. Okay, so highs. I said I would say highs. So let's see who's commented. I'll look at the comments, and then what I'll do is I'll refresh. So you've got time if you want to comment now. You can do, okay? Hello from Josie. Hi, Josie. I feel like it's been a little while. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. We're doing maths. We're doing the last Maths in Minecraft session tomorrow. Tomorrow on Facebook at 9:30 or Friday at 11:30. Awesome to have you here. Thank you. Oh, you're more than welcome, Kirsty and Co. You said thank you. See you soon. I will see you soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, Bean and Bud. There we go. I knew I recognised that name. Hi, Bean and Bud. Oh, you're watching in the car. Brilliant. That's amazing. I hope you don't get car sick. Oh, gosh. I don't think I could cope with watching something in the car. I'd feel so poorly. But hopefully not for you guys. Nice to have you, Bean and Bud. Thank you for joining me. Ellie, I'm so sad about your frogs. I really want to know if there's any frog spawn though. I want to know like how this materializes. I hope it's not just that they've gone forever and you never ever have frogs again. I hope it's like some new exciting thing that's going to happen. Let me know. Keep me up to date. These things are really important to me, like more than you probably realize. I really love hearing about these. Oh, Jacob, you're going to do a catch up. Hi, Jacob, for when you're watching in the catch up. Who else have we got? Oh, Clara and Erin. Hi, Clara and Erin. Nice to have you here. Oh, and Sophia. Hi, Sophia. Nice to have you here too. Let me just do a quick refresh, just in case. Hopefully I've caught everyone. Oh, it's reordered everything, which is really cute. Confusing. No, I think I've got everyone. Thank you so much for joining me live. Thank you to anyone watching on the catch up. I will be back with you. So I'll repeat this session tomorrow at 10:30. And then I've got Maths in Motion, the last Maths in Minecraft session tomorrow morning at 9:30 and Friday at 11:30. Okay. Hopefully I'll see you at one of those. Otherwise, I will see you after half term. Bye for now, guys.